מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים טהורים וגיבורים כזוהר הרקיע.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Rabbi Yehuda Kapelun.
Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats immediately. Please rise for the presentation of colors by the Florida Highway Patrol Honor Guard competitive team. I would like to call to the stage Assistant Director of the Miami-Dade Police Department, Rosie Cordero Stutz, to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation from Rabbi Mark Rosenberg, Chief Chaplain of the Florida Highway Patrol.
We say the words every year. On Rosh Hashanah, it is written, and on Yom Kippur, it is sealed. How many shall pass and how many shall be born? Who shall live and who shall die? Those words usually bring tears to our eyes as we think of the course of life and its eventual end. We learn to face the eventuality and we prepare for it as God gives us the strength to face it. October 7, 2023 crossed that line. We did not think it was possible to imagine the amount of death and the level of inhumanity that would take place just 78 years after the Holocaust, or that it would take place on a day celebrated by dancing with happiness and joy on the holiday of Simchat Torah. How many mothers and fathers expected to get calls from their children that day, begging to be saved as they ran away from death? How many children thought they would actually see the horrors and brutality that adults only speak of in whispers? How many were preparing a festive holiday meal while their loved ones were gunned down and taken captive? October 7 has left an indelible mark on all of us, especially today as we memorialize the one-year anniversary, while we continue to pray for our soldiers currently fighting there and for our hostages to return home now. Dear God, please gather our tears and use it to remember our pain and ease our hurt. 24-year-old Eden Yerushalmi managed to hide among her friends who had been brutally murdered while on the phone with her sister for 3 hours. Before being captured, she made a desperate call to the police, uttering her final words: "I'm running away. Please find me." Dear God, we are tired of running away. Please find us, protect us, and remember us. October 7 took the world of callous hatred and unforgivable brutality. Please, dear God, bless President Trump and all that he represents, as it takes a strong leader to stand up in the face of evil. Give him the courage and the resilience to bring peace to the world. Allow him the ability to accomplish the dream of prosperity, commonality, and harmony. Many around the world will remember the barbaric acts of October 7. Many will, but many won't. All of us here today stand united and share a vision of peace and tranquility, and we will always remember what took place on October 7th. May God bless us all, and may God bless President Trump with success in making the world great again. And please join me together by saying the three famous words of Am Yisrael Chai. And to that, we could certainly say, Amen.
Part of the memorial ceremony is to learn a brief verse from Ethics of Our Fathers, a Mishnah, and to say the Kaddish, the memorial prayer. I'd like to call upon, and feel very blessed to call upon, my father, my teacher, an educator for over 60 years, Rabbi Yaakov Kaplun.
Mr. President, Dr. Mary Edelson, Yehuda, distinguished guests, colleagues, and many, many friends. The prayer of Kaddish, memorial prayer, is generally recited in memory of loved ones whom souls have departed this world. In it, we do not cry. We praise and exalt the Creator and seek comfort and strength by acknowledging and understanding that God Almighty's actions are incomprehensible to us and beyond our understanding. Reciting the Kaddish empowers us to maintain our convictions and by remembering the more than 1,200 souls who were murdered on October 7th. The 700 members of Israel's armed forces have been killed in action since that time, and those hostages who are no longer among the living. We're gathering here today in a spirit of unity. We solemnly pledge they will never be forgotten. Today, I'm about to recite the Kaddish prayer in their honor, and especially on behalf of the little children who one day, when they grow up, will be reciting the Kaddish on October 7th in memory of a beloved parent whom they never got to meet. Please feel free and say Amen at the appropriate times in Kaddish. And join me in song for the final line, which expresses our ultimate prayer and request and hope for peace. That we leave here with a spirit of strength, hope, and much faith. We say the Kaddish after reciting a short portion of the Mishnah. Rab Chananya ben Akashya Omer, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויאדיר. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעל מה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, ויצמח ברכני וחרב משיחי. בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעולמי עולמיה, יתברך ויתבשתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. על ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידי הון ועל כל תלמידי תלמידי הון ועל כל מן דוסקים ברייתא דברתה דין ודקלתה ותר. יהי להון ולכון שלמה רבה חינה וכיסתא ורחמים וחיים הליכין ומזונה לברכה ופולקנה מן קדם והון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. May God bless all who are gathered here today. May God bless the people of Israel. May God bless the American and Israeli hostages still in captivity. And may God bless the United States of America.
I would like to say thank you to the Honor Guard. Please take your seats. It is an enormous task to speak at a memorial for 1,200 people. Where does one begin? How does one describe a child who will never meet his parents? How does one describe parents who watch their children brutally murdered? How does one describe children who will never know their grandparents? 1,200 stories, 1,200 victims. Where does one begin? Everybody killed that day, as I said before, is their own story. 1,200 stories. But I'd like to share 3 short stories before I call up the speakers. The first is about 2 10-month-old boys, Guy and Roey. When Hamas terrorists overran their home, their parents put their 2 little babies in a cupboard. They insulated that cupboard with kitchen towels, and they stood in front of that cupboard, and they were brutally murdered. Man's inhumanity to man was on full display. Evil, brutality was on display. Absolutely horrific acts occurred on that day. 14 hours later, Israeli soldiers heard cries in a cupboard and discovered 2 twin 10-month-old boys who are now being raised by their uncle and aunt who will never know their parents. That's why we're here. Never again. They will never be forgotten. The parents' courageous behavior is what saved their children. We're going to talk about a Bedouin medic in the Israeli forces who refused to leave his wounded comrades and kept on treating them until he was savagely murdered by Hamas. There was an 85-year-old gentleman in Kibbutz Be'eri, if I believe is correct, who, when he heard the gunshots, he told his elderly wife and the caretaker to go into the shelter. And his daughter and granddaughter went into a room that did not have a lock. He happened to have been the actor in the kibbutz's plays. He placed his chair in front of the room without a lock. And when Hamas came into the house, he played the role of a lonely old man. After they found him, his body riddled with bullets, his wife and caretaker were found alive, and his daughter and granddaughter were alive. The man's final act was saving his family and his generations to come. What stories are we not telling? We could spend the evening here. Do we tell the story of my father's great niece who put her 4-year-old and 6-month-old boy outside and was killed by Hamas and the children will grow up never knowing the loving arms of their mother. In Israel, we say there isn't a house that doesn't have somebody affected. When you go to the north, you have people, hundreds of thousands of people who have been moved due to rockets. You go to the south, there are kibbutzim that have been ruined. Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Haifa have had rockets. Today, it's not just a memorial. It requires each and every one of us in the room to pledge never to forget. To pledge that October 7th, 2023 will never occur again. That all of us will do everything in our power to fight anti-Semitism and not remain silent. Never again must mean never again, not words from 1945, but from 2023. It is incumbent upon each and every one of us in the room, to the world watching, to the American public, to every minister, that every pastor, every imam, and every rabbi. We must educate people to respect law and order and the truth. And the truth is that good will triumph over evil eventually, but at what cost? Look at the room. That's the cost of one day, 1,200 souls. To the right and to the left, we remember the hostages who have now endured 1 year in captivity. But one thing about the Jewish nation and the American Jewish public is we will remain unbowed, undaunted. We will remember and we will rise. We will memorialize each and every single one of these victims in a manner that shows how the Jewish nation will continue on forever and ever. This event does not happen in a vacuum, so I must give some thanks. I would like to thank Oren Katan, my partner Ed Russo, who's not here tonight but was instrumental in making this event happen, Andrew Greenbaum, Itzik Rosmarin, Moshe Henkin, Moshe Kaploon, and all the volunteers who spent hours making this room happen and making this event happen. Ladies and gentlemen, entering the room in a brief moment will be two tremendous leaders, both of whom are friends. One is Dr. Miriam Adelson, who is one of Israel's biggest advocates, America's advocate, a woman who is a business leader, a philanthropic leader, and someone who cares deeply about the Jewish nation, the American people, and has made tremendous efforts to be here this evening to show that every life is precious, that 1,200 lives lost on October 7th will never be forgotten. And the second, someone who needs no introduction, certainly in this room, but a stalwart friend of Israel. His accomplishments speak for itself. The embassy, the Abraham Accords, the Golan Heights, but above all, his care, his affection, worrying about those who are less fortunate. leading the nation in its times of crises by example. Just recently, he was in a hurricane-ravaged state worrying about communications, but it wasn't his responsibility. But yet everything that goes on in America is his responsibility because he's a true American leader. He has fought for Israel, fought against tyranny, and believes strongly in the commitment of religious liberty and justice for all, equally and fairly. As American Jews, we humbly pledge tonight to never forget the 1,200 souls lost on that day, to never forget the families who lost loved ones since that day, and certainly never to forget the hostages until they are home safely, whether they be the American hostages, the British hostage, the Israeli hostages. Every one of them is a precious soul and deserves to be brought home safely, quickly, and immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Miriam Adelson and former President Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Dr. Miriam Adelson.
Good evening, Erev Tov. First, I would like to give big thank to the family, the Kaplun family, Yuda and his son Moshe Kaplun, and Ed Russo and Alon Katan for organizing this great event tonight to memorize the terrible things that happened in October 7. An event that brings us together here, a fraternity of two faiths, Christian and Jewish, to mark a dark anniversary, a year since October 7, 2023, the darkest day of my life, of countless lives. It was a day whose horrors unfolded on the other side of the world while America slept. But a year on, after Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza has become a regional struggle against the genocidal and fanatical Islamic Republic of Iran, we are all wide awake to its impact on the entire world. And the world is looking again for US leadership. Many of you will know Admiral Daniel Hagari, Chief IDF spokesman. He has appeared on TV regularly to brief the Israelis and the American about what's going in Israel of this terrible and existential war. He said something remarkable the other day on TV, that he is stuck in October 7, 2023. That the hundreds of sunrises and sunsets he has seen since all felt like they were part of the same horrible, unending day. I understand that we are still learning new details about how 1,200 of our brothers and sisters were kidnapped and tortured and butchered by Hamas and by supposedly innocent Palestinian civilians that you see in the pictures invaded also Israel, though they were not part of their army, and raped and killed Israeli. So these are the innocent people. But despite the profound pain, the heartbreak, the worry for the 101 blameless children, women, and men still held hostage in Gaza, I am not stuck in this day. I am focused on what October 7 means for Jewish history and the Jewish future, and the lessons are grim. I am a Tzabarit, a native-born Israeli. I was raised to believe that the rebirth of this Jewish state marked the beginning of the end of the global anti-Semitism that had robbed my parents of their families back in Poland during the World War II. As a child, I felt that something bad had happened in Europe, rumors, gossiping, but I first learned the facts of the Holocaust when I was just 16. And Israel put the Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann on trial, because before that, our parents wouldn't talk. They didn't want to hurt us, they couldn't talk. Still, the survivors who testified during Eichmann trial sounded like they had come from an entirely alien reality. One of them even referred to the concentration camp, Planet Auschwitz, like he was in another planet. With my late husband, Sheldon Zichrono Livracha, I was proud to sit on the board of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum and to sponsor Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. We did so mainly in commemoration of our 6 million martyrs, because we believed in the motto, never again. But I lost that belief a year ago. Gone forever, because what was never meant to happen again, happened again. Jews suffered a pogrom. They were helpless and defenseless. They lost their lives and their liberty and their dignity to the bloodthirsty mob whose yells were in Arabic rather than Russian or Polish or Ukrainian or German. And when Israel finally fought back, it discovered all too many people in the West who preferred to condemn it rather than Hamas, who accused Israel of genocide, who called for Israel to be denied weapons of self-defense, who made Jews feel unwelcome on US college campuses, who treated Israelis as if they were their war criminals. These are the kind of people who allowed the Holocaust to happen, and they are the kind of people who would allow another October 7 to happen, God forbid. If there is another October 7, it will come with a mushroom cloud. The same Iran that armed and funded Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen is working hard to get nuclear bombs with which to finish the job of destroying the Jewish state. That must not happen. Israel must not let it happen. And Israel's friend, most important among them, this great United States, must not let it happen. I always like to quote a sentence from the Bible. And this time, I will say it in Hebrew and translate it. בכל עת אוהב הרע, ואח לצרה ייוולד. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Which brings me to our keynote speaker. Had he been in the White House a year ago, I'm totally convinced that October 7 would have never happened. Okay. You didn't let me finish the sentence. That October 7 wouldn't have happened. Hamas would not have dared. Hezbollah would not have dared. The Houthis would not have dared. And yes, the Ayatollah of Iran would never have dared. Because evildoers understand when they are faced with a real courage. They can spot a strong leader who will make their lives hell if they get out of line. They laughed at UN resolution and at statement condemning both sides of the conflict. As long as they are not called out for what they are, evil, they know they will never suffer consequences. And this man has no problem with calling them out. He knows that the enemies of Israel are the enemies of the United States and the free world because they are the enemies of civilization. He knows how to talk tough, but more importantly, he knows when the time for talk is over and it is time to fight for what is right. He is, I'm finishing. He is Donald J. Trump, the best president America ever had. And the best president America will have again, God willing, come January. Please join me welcoming our friend and our brother, President Trump.
Wow, that was something, huh? Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you. Very special woman, I have to say that. Friend of mine for a long time, and she is very, very special. And her husband is, I mean, this was one tough cookie. He loved Israel. And you talk about special. That was a special man, wasn't he? It was great. So I want to thank you very much, Miriam, and for all of the exceptional commitment that you've given to the safety and security and the prosperity of the United States and Israel. Before we begin, I would like to tell you that there's a very violent hurricane that's coming down the line, and it's a Category 5, which is something that I've never heard a Category 5 actually coming onto land, but it looks like it's going to. And right smack in the middle of Florida. Nobody's seen a line like that. And it's heading there quickly. I have to tell you that I called Miriam. I said, I was in New York, and I said, Miriam, maybe I shouldn't be flying. I think I'm the only person that flew down to Florida tonight because I didn't have a chance with her. So, I said, Miriam, maybe I should stay back and, heading into a hurricane, Miriam. It made no difference. No, you have to be here. Our friends are there. And I said, okay, when you say that, I'm going to be there 100%. I'm going to be there. I was watching the airplane highways, and they were all heading this way as I was going that way. They said, what's he doing? But I wouldn't have missed this regardless. I wouldn't have missed this for anything. This is a very special time, and it's a very special day. This is the day we have to do it. This was the day we had to do it. We don't have to postpone it for a week. This is the day, because I'm looking forward to coming back and maybe seeing all of these seats filled up the next time. That's what I want. Yeah, that's what we want. So we're praying for Florida, and we hope everyone is safe, and we're praying for North Carolina and all of the different places. You look at Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee and South Carolina and Florida. It's amazing. This has been an amazing period of time, but the response has been very weak, unbelievably weak. Nobody's ever seen such a weak response, so we have to get a strong response. And now we have another one coming, and it looks like it's going to be a whopper. I also want to thank Rabbi Kaplan for doing such a great job. I appreciate it. Your son, I appreciate that. And we have a lot of very, very powerful people here tonight, great people. Senator Rick Scott, a big fan of Miriam and a big fan of Israel. Members of Congress, Carlos Jimenez, Mario Diaz-Balart, thank you. Maria Salazar, Guy Reschenthaler, David Kutzoff, Congressman Lee Zeldin. He's helping us win New York. We got to win New York. We're going to see if we can do it, right, Lee? We're going to see if we can do it. Ambassador David Friedman, what a job he did. Everybody loved him. Robin Bernstein, where's Robin? Robin, hi, Robin, how are you? Good job you did as the ambassador. And Duke Buchan, thank you very much. You raised a lot of money for our campaign. We appreciate it. The Consul General, and I think you all know, Mara, where are you? Where is he? Where is he? What a good job you've done. Where are you? Thank you very much. What a beautiful job. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Florida House members, Danny Perez and Randy Fine. Randy Fine. Where is Randy Fine? Randy Fine's been out there. Thank you, Randy. Great job. State Senator Ileana Garcia, Keith Raboy, thank you. Ed Russo, oh, Ed Russo, environmental specialist. Whenever I have a problem, I call Ed Russo and he solves the environmental problem for me. We appreciate it. And somebody who's been a great defender of ours on television, on Fox and elsewhere, but particularly on Fox, Elizabeth Pipko. Where's Elizabeth? She has been so great. Thank you, Elizabeth. And a person, one of the greatest business people in the country, in the United States, and I think actually beyond. And she's been a fan, and I've been a fan of hers, but she's been a friend of mine for a long time, Safra Katz. Thank you very much. Thank you, Safra. Haven't seen you. You look well. So we're here this evening in solemn remembrance of one of the darkest hours in all of human history. 1 year ago today, every civilized person was filled with shock and horror and grief at the news of an evil and so absolute that, and nobody's seen anything like it. Nobody's seen anything that it really can barely be described. You can't describe it. October 7th was not just the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. It was not just the worst terror attack since 9/11. It was an attack on humanity itself. It was a hideous, incredible cruelty. It was chilling savagery. It was demonic delight and the destruction of innocent life. On October 7th, it seemed as if the gates of hell had sprung open and unleashed their horrors onto the world, and that's exactly what happened. What a moment in time, what a moment in horrible history, horrible history. Today we mourn more than 1,200 innocent victims of the October 7th attacks, whose memory we honor with 1,200 beautiful individual candles, and we honor them with grace and with gratitude for their lives and for their families, what their families have gone through. And maybe we'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. To every family that lost a loved one, I know so many of them, on that terrible day, including several here tonight, we grieve with you, we stand with you, and we make you this sacred and sacred vow, very simple vow, a vow you've heard many times, and sometimes it's honored and sometimes it's not, but this will be honored. Never again. Never again. The monsters who perpetrated those murders also took over 250 hostages, men, women, and children, including 12 Americans. In so doing, they inflicted the most unthinkable torture, not only on their captives, but also on the families who were forced to live day after day in excruciating agony and pain, not knowing whether their loved ones were dead or alive. Can you think of anything worse? Tonight, we send our love to every innocent soul who remains in Hamas captivity. We just are not going to stand for it. We're not going to take it. We're not going to take it any longer. We pray that through the darkness they know that we have not forgotten them, that we have not forsaken them. We will never forsake them, and we will never abandon them. And with God's help, they will come safely home, and it will be soon. We hope it will be very soon. Very, very soon. And we hope they're safe. Nobody knows. I was talking to somebody today, and the family has no idea. They think their boy is safe. Beautiful boy, beautiful young guy, American. He went over there to enjoy and to pray. And they've never seen him again, but they think he's alive. And can you imagine that? Can you even imagine? Let me also say to all of the people of Israel who have endured a long year search of anger and slander and war, our hearts are united with yours. We are very united with yours. The bond between the United States and Israel is strong and enduring. And if and when they say, when I'm president, I don't say that. I never say that. If and when I'm president of the United States, it will once again be stronger and closer than it ever was before. We have to win this election. If we don't win this election, There's tremendous consequence for everything. You know, I say that November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think it will also be the most important day in the history of Israel, if you want to know the truth. I believe that. I think you believe that too. Thank you. Over the past year, there has been an effort by some to deny the horrors of October 7th, just as some unbelievably deny the Holocaust itself. And you have that, and you have people that actually say, oh, October 7th, it never happened. Where do these people come from? Where do they come from? And they don't believe it. They don't believe it. They want others to believe it. They don't believe it. That's why it's so important to remember and to state clearly for history what happened on that terrible day. The only way we can keep our vow is never again, and it really is to also say never, ever forget. We can never forget. The nightmare of that day still hangs. The horrible legacy of what's taken place, the survivors, the families of the dead, and Jews all over the world. Hamas raped, tortured, maimed, and murdered innocent civilians in the most barbaric ways imaginable. Nobody can believe what they saw, and it's there for those to see if you want to see it. It's a terrible thing. I've seen it. They paraglided into a music festival full of life and beauty. From the skies they came and massacred young people who came for joy and happiness and peace. They were loving young people, wonderful young people, beautiful people. One young woman whose friend had been killed was seen begging on her knees for her life. She was begging, please, please. Her last words were, don't kill me, please don't kill me, before the terrorists shot her dead in the face. Elsewhere, a child and an adult were bound together with metal wire. They were burned alive. A baby was shot through the heart while still in the mother's womb, ready to be born, and shot. Today, we reaffirm the entire world to hear there can be no acceptance, no excuse, and no understanding of this kind of evil. It's the evil like nobody has ever seen before. Nothing can justify it. Nothing can rationalize it. And any person who sympathizes with it, with these terrible atrocities, as a sickness in their soul and a darkness in their heart. And these are people that can never be our allies or our friends. Almost as shocking as October 7th itself is the outbreak of anti-Semitism that we have all seen in its wake. I never thought I was going to see this. Never, ever. This is so incredible to be witnessing. Whoever thought? We thought this was very, very rarefied, putrid air. We never thought we'd see it, and we certainly never thought we'd see it in this country. And a lot of that has to do with the leadership of this country. This attack, yeah, well, that's true. We need leadership. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's very sad to see. I never thought I'd see it. This attack should have rallied the entire world in support of the Jewish people and the Jewish homeland. Instead, an ancient scourge of anti-Jewish hatred. And this was something we thought was left to hundreds and thousands of years ago. I mean, this was something we never thought could happen. The anti-Jewish hatred has returned even here in America, in our streets, our media, and our college campuses, and within the ranks of the Democrat Party in particular. Not in the Republican Party, I will tell you that. It's not in the Republican Party. And I say that the Republican Party has not been infected by this horrible disease. And hopefully it won't be. It won't be as long as I'm in charge, I can tell you that. These endless candles, photos, and empty chairs remind us why it's so important that the toxic poison of anti-Semitism be condemned, confronted, and stopped. Anti-Semitic bigotry has no place in a civilized society. It has no place in our universities, and it has no place in the United States of America. No place. Over 2,500 survivors of the Holocaust living in Israel were directly impacted by the horrors of October 7th. Many were forced to flee their homes. They cannot believe it happened. Some even lost their lives. Actually, many lost their lives. One of them was Moshe Ridler. Moshe was escaped from a concentration camp at the age of 11, only to die at the hands of the same vile hate 8 decades later. Can you imagine? Can you imagine his thought process when he saw this happening? Can you even imagine it? Hamas terrorists murdered Moshe at 91 years old for the same reason the Nazis put him in a camp, simply because he was a Jew. The world cannot continue down this dangerous path. We must stop this perilous slide into conflict, hatred, and destruction. And we must really, honestly stop it now. It cannot go on because it's going to only get worse if it does. The October 7th attack would never have happened if I was president, I can tell you. The past few years have proven that weakness only begets violence and war. And you see that it's weakness, but it's also, there's a lot of hatred going around also, not just weakness, it's hatred. There's a lot of hatred on a certain side. What is needed more than ever is a return of unwavering American leadership and unquestioned American strength. We were strong, we were powerful, we were respected like this country has not been respected in many, many decades. Just 4 years ago, that's what I intend to deliver as the 47th President of the United States. We're going to deliver everything that we want. As you know, Hamas has now been severely degraded, and Hezbollah has recently been dealt very, very powerful, crippling blows. With strength and the right leadership, the dawn of a new, more harmonious Middle East is finally within our reach. It's finally within our reach. But you have no idea the role that the United States has to play in order to get that ball over the goal line. We have to get it into the end zone. And if it's not the United States, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We have to be able to get it done and get it done properly and get back to a wonderful, beautiful way of life. You have to be able to do it. You have to finish what you began, and you have to finish it quickly. So here is my commitment to you on the solemn date. I will not allow the Jewish state to be threatened with destruction. I will not allow another Holocaust of the Jewish people. I will not allow a jihad to be waged on America or our allies. And I will support Israel's right to win its war on terror, and it has to win it fast. No matter what happens, it has to go fast. Thank you. And I want to, while we're at this point, I want to thank Mr. Steve Witkoff, a great entrepreneur in New York and Florida and elsewhere, I think everywhere, frankly. But he's made a major contribution, so I just want you to know that. I think it's appropriate to bring that up. What do you think? And Steve is the only one that doesn't really care if I do, but he's been very generous. Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate it, with his wonderful, beautiful boy. Here at home, I will defend our American Jewish population. I will protect your communities, your schools, your places of worship, and your values. We will remove the jihadist sympathizers and Jew haters. We're going to remove the Jew haters who do nothing to help our country. They only want to destroy our country. And we will never let the horrors of October 7th be repeated here on American soil. We will not let that happen, and we will solve the problem that we have. If you look at what happened just 2 days ago in New York City, I couldn't believe it. I said, it's starting all over again. The level of violence was as bad as it was last summer. If we can achieve all of that, we can really make sure that those who perished on October 7th will not have died in vain. They cannot have died in vain. You cannot let that happen. With God's help, their sacrifice will have given way to a safer Jewish homeland, a stronger state of Israel, a more secure America, and at long last, we will have achieved the dream of some generations. We are going to make this, we are going to turn this, and you can never say a total positive because all of those people that have died, but we're going to turn this into something where they can be proud of what's happened. They can say, we sacrificed our lives for something very special. There has to be unity. There has to be peace. There has to be strength. We need so many qualities. We need every single quality. We're going to bring it all together, and we will have peace in the Middle East. We will have strength and resilience, and we will have a very powerful and strong Israel, and I will be with you all the way. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless the people of Israel. God bless America. Thank you very much.